All right, so I'm going to try something a little bit new today. I do the best when when I talk, when someone just gives me an idea right off the bat. I've found that in these podcasts and this is a great example of what I'm doing right now. I found that in these podcasts, when I think about what I'm going to talk about, it's a little bit harder for me. But really the best talking points that I have are when somebody just says, "Hey, what's your thought on this?" And I can go off on it. And it's something that I can just start talking about. So I'm going to try this here. It's a little more of a relaxed setting. So, the topic I'm going to talk about today is building your inner voice. What does that look like? Because sometimes as I'm talking to people, it's, well, I'm not very self confident, or I don't really have that self drive. So, how can I be better at that? Well, the key to all of these things that we've talked about, whether it's a rut that you're in or if it's getting out of your comfort zone, the key denominator in all those things is an inner voice that drives you. And I think about every situation that I have had to be successful, and I'm self-proclaiming that I'm successful. But the reason I'm saying that is because I'm happy, I'm well rested, I enjoy what I'm doing. So for me, that inner voice that I have is the main contributor of that. Because every single day that I get up, I'm able to self-motivate myself. And a lot of the times where I see the most, I'm not going to say unsuccessful people, but the most unhappy people are the people who don't have the inner voice that continually drives them. That inner voice that's maybe the reason for what everybody sees as what you should be doing or not be doing. So maybe you have someone who's constantly calling into work and it's like, gosh, that person just doesn't have the drive. Or maybe it's the person that's supposed to be at the workout with you, but they're not there, but yet you are. It's the inner drive in somebody. And what that boils down to is it is self motivation. And so I've never had to be more disciplined, like self motivated. It's something I've really always had. And here's the example of that. In the morning, you're laying in bed and you're sitting there, and maybe your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. You're thinking to yourself like, "Oh my gosh, I do not want to get out of bed. This is comfortable." Or maybe for some of you, don't even hear your alarm. You know who you are. And you're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself like, "Man, I just can't get moving this morning." And you fall back asleep. And maybe you're supposed to be somewhere. And then you wake back and you just can't get self-motivated. For me, the way I always look at that is maybe I'm tired right now, like just happened to me this morning. My alarm goes off at 6 a.m. Like, man, I really don't want to get up this morning. But I start thinking to myself, well, every single morning I get up. And once I do get up and I start moving, I'm not very tired. So why don't I just get up now so I make myself do it? That's what's called self-motivation. It's making yourself do it even when you don't want to. That's the key definition to successful people in life. Doing something when you don't necessarily want to do it. There's multiple situations I can think of like this. I mean, every day when I come into work, I think about the projects maybe going on and like, oh, maybe it's a project that's been going on and on and on. Like, man, I just got to keep going. What I a lot of times have to do, and I just had the conversation with my wife about this earlier today, was a lot of times I have to get my mind reset on something else. So you're going through, you're doing something. Maybe it feels like, man, I'm just doing the same thing over and over. And maybe it's a project you have to get through. A lot of times when I step away from that one thing, I'm able to have my inner voice, my self-confidence get more boosted on that project because I can take my mind off it and do something else. Some of you guys know this, like you're doing a class project maybe, or you got that project at work and it's just so redundant. It's happening over and over and over. And you think, I can't do this. A lot of the times stepping away from something is a lot better than trying to push through something. I can think of, I can go through a lot of different times where this has happened to me. You get in that rut, you just can't get out of it. You're not self-motivated. What do I need to do? A lot of times you need to take a break. That's the reality of it. You got to take the break. You got to be able to be motivated for something, which means you got to rekindle the fire. And a lot of times when you step away from that and you come back at it later, you have a completely different perspective. If you want to increase your inner voice, sometimes it means stepping away from something. If you step away from something, a lot of times that'll make you a lot more successful. Now, maybe some of you, they don't have that inner voice whatsoever, and they just can't get motivated to do things. A lot of the times I realize that also happens when the people around you are maybe more loud about what you should be doing than what you think you should be doing. So think about that for a second. A lot of you younger generations out there, maybe you're just getting ready, maybe you're getting done with high school, maybe you're getting ready to go to college, or maybe you're not doing anything right now and you're thinking to yourself like, oh my gosh, I've got the world ahead of me. There's too much right now. I just can't handle. There's way too much that's happening out there. I don't know how I can go and do all that. And then you got the people around you saying, hey, you need to do this, or hey, you need to do this. And you get this built up pressure. And so then the answer is, well, I just got to sit here and do nothing. Well, you feel like you're doing something, but you do nothing. Okay. Get yourself out of that situation. I can remember even for myself, if you're in a situation or you're somewhere, right, and the noise around you is louder than your own thought process, you can't process stuff yourself. You got to get out of the situation. So maybe for some of you, maybe younger kids, or maybe it's the older adults now, or whoever it is, if the noise around you is louder than your own thought process, you're going to find yourself in a hermit hole. Point blank, period. There are so many different situations, right? And I know this is relating to a lot of you right now, is you're thinking that you need to do something, but people around you are saying, oh, you need to be doing this, or oh, you need to be doing this. Maybe you're trying to have a kid right now, and the people around you are just, oh, why aren't you having kids right now? You should be having kids. And the voices around you are bringing pressure on you that you don't need. If those are the situations you're in, it's going to bring you down more than it's going to bring you up. Get yourself out of those situations. The only way to get self-motivated and rekindle, here's a great analogy of that I'm thinking of right now. It's like lighting a match and the wind around you is too strong that you can't actually ignite it. That's what happens to us when we get ourselves in those situations, is that the people around us are dictating what's happening with our own Kindle. The visions that you have and the success that you want to have in life, a lot of the times people have that in their mind of what that looks like. But the noise around them, the wind around them keeps disigniting, keeps blowing out your flame. If you're in that, that's a toxic situation. A toxic situation you will never be successful at. If you have to get away from the noise, you got to get away from the noise. That's the only way to rekindle the inner inside you that's going to get you self-motivated. You want to be successful, you have to be self-motivated. And if the people around you aren't letting you do that, surround yourself with new people. That's a pretty easy conversation to have with people. If the people around you are not bringing you up and they're bringing you down, you're around the wrong people. Get yourself into a new setting. Get yourself around people. You can think back to many analogies that say this, but the analogies you think of is you are going to become the people that you are around. Now, that's a great analogy, especially for younger generations. If you're hanging around with certain people who are doing certain things, you're going to become that, right? Nick Saban said this, and it's a great analogy, and I'm just re-quoting what he says, but highly successful people don't like being around low achievers or even moderately successful people. High achievers like being around high achievers. And people who are just successful don't like being around high achievers either. They just don't. That's like oil and water. They don't mix. If you're a highly successful person hanging out with somebody who's just bleh, especially on, let's say, like a football team or a sports team or something like that, they will never mesh because they see this work ethic. It's just, man, I got to go do this. Oh, man, I got to. And this person's seeing like, why are you doing so much? They don't mesh. That all boils down to the people that you're hanging out with. The people that you're surrounding yourself with. If you are a younger generation, first of all, we'll talk about them first. If you're a younger generation and you're hanging out with people who are not going anywhere in life, you will do the same thing. It's pretty simple. Who you are with is who you will become. If you are a person with a family, middle-aged like myself, and you are looking to make the next step in life, and you are constantly with people who are maybe going out and having more party time than they are anything else, you are not going to take the next step in life. Pretty simple. If you are an older generation, and you are looking to do something different, and you are hanging out with people who are not in the same mindset, you will not be the person that you want to be. You will be the people that you are around. Pretty simple one. If you want to increase the inner flame, if you want to reignite yourself, get yourself around the people who have the same mindset. And sometimes that means you are that person. Maybe you have to ignite the people around you. Maybe the people are looking towards you. If that's the case, reignite your group. In order to be successful, you have to increase your inner voice. If you're going to increase your inner voice, you have to be willing to make the next steps. You have to get yourself out of bed. You have to make sure that when you're at work and something happens, you have to be the person that comes through and pulls through. The person that is able to drive themselves is the person. There is not one company and I'm willing to put money on this, and maybe someone might come up with an example. There are no companies out there, and I'm going back a little bit to season 1 here, talking about, the startup business. There are no companies that currently have somebody as the CEO or president that is not self-motivated. And here's what I also want to say about that. Maybe there is. Maybe it's somebody who took over the role, maybe from their parents or something like that. Maybe they're not someone that company will go into the ground. So let me put it this way. There is not a successful company out there with somebody who started that business that was not self-motivated. There is not anybody out there right now who is truly happy in life that was not self-motivated. And in order to have that, you have to have the inner flame. You have to be able to grow within. And you have to be able to put yourselves in situations around people who will allow you to make that growth. If you grow like that and you're around those people who are constantly building you up and not blowing your flame out, you will be successful. I do that every single day. The people that I am around, the people who work here at Tailored Systems, are highly motivated people. And they know that. You make it past the first 90 days here, you will be here, because it's easy to tell who the self-motivated people are and who the people are that just like walking around, talking, the upper 50 percenters, you could even be there. Upper 90 percenters are who work here. They are the self-motivated people. That's why this company is where they are today. It's because of the people who work here. It's not myself. It's because I bring the people in who have the inner flame, who have the drive. And here's the reality of that too. Crazily enough, if you came by our work, you'd notice that most of the kids that work here are just that. They're kids. They're 18-year-olds, about 25-year-old, which is completely opposite of what most people hear today, which is, oh, well, the younger generation just isn't that successful. I'm going to tell you, I found the people who are. And it takes digging. It takes just not maybe hiring the first person that comes in. It takes a little bit. It takes having hard conversations with people about growth. But at the end of the day, the people that work here have that. And that's why this company is going to where they go. You have to surround yourself with the people who have the same mindset you do. Because if you don't, you will not be successful in life. That's the message today. You want to have inner growth. Surround yourself with the people that do. If you're around the people who are constantly blowing your flame out and who are louder than the thought processes that you have yourself, you will not be successful. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is one of those ones where I just went on with what my thought process was. If you got ideas, you got things you want me to talk about, I'm just going to start coming on and going down these rabbit holes because that's what I absolutely love doing. If you heard something that you like today, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, stay sharp, stay resilient.